A lot of people had very little sleep last night as phones rang all around the country with news that the ABC chopper had gone down. But it was the ABC Managing Director, Mark Scott, who had the job at 6:30 this morning of emailing the corporation's staff to let them know authorities feared the worst. The MD joined me in the studio a short time ago. Mark, when did you first learn of this situation?
I got a call from Kate Tawney, our Director of News, a bit after 8 last night, saying that word had come through that a helicopter was down near Lake Eyre and that we had a helicopter in the area. We didn't have confirmation that it was ours, but it was very serious and investigations were being made. And pretty soon after that, it became evident to us that it looked like it was the ABC chopper that had gone down, and we weren't able to raise the pilot and the fellas on board, and it looked pretty grim all through last night.
What sort of support does the ABC offer the families in these situations?
Well, we've been talking with the families since we first got the news that there was concern, and we talked with them through last night, and we ensured that family and friends gathered, and we had people with them as well. And we're providing ongoing support. We'll be providing financial support around issues like services and funerals and the like. And we'll be sticking pretty close to this family as well. And there'll be other things like insurance and other matters that come into play. But we do feel like a family here, and I think often our audience feels that they're part of the family, and certainly our staff and the people who work with us are. And we've got a very supportive community environment that's rolling out to look after those who've suffered this terrible loss.
What sort of reaction has there been both in the ABC and outside?
Well, I think within the ABC, these were three of the best of the best. They're people who'd worked with us. Each of them had worked with us for more than 2 decades, and so widely known, but much respected. And also, 3 gentlemen, I mean, really much loved staff members. So across the ABC in Sydney and Brisbane where these guys worked, but all around the country and in our international bureaus, just an outpouring of great sadness because we loved these guys. But also, I think from the audience today, we've had this extraordinary feedback of respect for the work that they've done. I think particularly Paul. I mean, Paul had been a journo for 40 years. And people remember him as a foreign correspondent. They remember him reporting on the Olympics. But in these last few years, this very important work he's done to give us all insight into regional and rural Australia. Those great documentaries he made about the centre of Australia coming to life with all the water and all the rain. And that extraordinary set of broadcasts he did in Queensland when he was the first reporter on the ground in Grantham. And look, Paul was anything but a show pony, sought anything but the limelight, but the integrity of his journalism won great respect. And we see it in the others as well. We see it in Gary, we see it in John. I think the audience respects the integrity of the journalism that they've brought to us over many years.
And losing the 3 of them together, it reminds people just the contribution that the people behind the scenes make to the sort of work that someone like Paul Lockyer is able to bring.
Absolutely, and I think that we see that in people talking about John today, that John Bean was the cameraman that our reporters wanted to work with because he made their stories look so good. A fine photographer. Some of his photography is up on our website from this very trip that he was making. And so, yes, it's a team effort, television and broadcasting. You have the reporter who you see, a great team behind the scenes, but it all comes together. And I think when we think of Gary Ticehurst, we think of his work as the helicopter pilot. Our journalists, our cameramen knew that Gary was part of the team. He was integral to getting the story, and we saw him that way, and he saw himself as part of the team.
What's the latest information from authorities regarding the cause of the accident?
We don't know that yet. A number of investigations are underway. At the moment, it's an investigation scene, and they are particularly focused on the identification of the bodies. We understand that when that then happens, then you'll have an investigation that's taking place into the cause of the accident.
But any idea on the time frame?
We don't really, Lee. We're not in a position to speculate. We're in the hands of the experts on that. And of course, we're as keen as anyone to find out why this terrible accident took place.
Mark Scott, thank you.
Thanks, Lee.